cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Very good evening. You're watching India Global. I'm Gaurie Dwivedi. As always, we start the show with headlines coming in. First up, the big story that's just broken in. Russia's Vladimir Putin announces a 3-day ceasefire in the Ukraine-Russia war. The ceasefire will be effective from midnight of May 8th to the 10th of May. Kremlin says it expects Kiev to honor the ceasefire that is being announced to coincide with the 80th celebration of the Victory Day. India-France ink 63,000 crore Rafale Marine deal. The deal will boost the Indian Navy and counter Indian Ocean threats. BBC under fire over Pahalgam terror attack coverage. BBC's misleading coverage portrays India as perpetrator. New Delhi issues a formal memo to the head of BBC in India. Massive power outrage was reported in several cities across Spain and Portugal on Monday. The blackout disrupted critical infrastructure. Services, train services, airports have all been significantly impacted due to the outage. All right, the big story that we're tracking on India Global right now, with Russian President Vladimir Putin has declared a 3-day ceasefire in the Russia-Ukraine war that is set to begin on the midnight of 8th of May and will run through 10th of May. It is coinciding with Russia's Victory Day celebrations that will take place on the 9th of May. It will commemorate the end of the Second World War. It's the 80th celebration of the end of the World War II. Kremlin says it expects Kiev to also honor the ceasefire, warning that any violations will be met with a swift response. Moscow also reiterated its call for an unconditional peace talks, claiming it's ready to address the root cause of the conflict and engage in meaningful international dialogue. Now, what does this mean? Why is this significant? Of course, the Victory Day celebration is about Vladimir Putin meeting heads of state. There are about 20 of them that are being invited for this celebration, and which is why this ceasefire is being announced. Tatiana, who's a senior journalist, joins me from Moscow. Romeo Kabir, who's Ukraine, he's the managing editor of the New Ukraine Voice, joins me live from Kiev. Tatiana, to you first. The fact that it coincides with the Victory Day celebrations is indicative that Mr. Putin does understand how important it is to have the right optics in front of the world, doesn't it?
Well, Gaurie, let me correct you first. You know, it's our little habit that we have, right? The Victory Day celebrations is actually not about Vladimir Putin meeting heads of state. It's about honoring the millions, the victims lost in this terrible war, and honoring the sacrifice of all of the nations that were involved in it, including Ukraine, which was then part of the Soviet Union, and Ukrainian soldiers fought and lost lives in this war alongside Russian soldiers against Nazi Germany. So it is first and foremost about that.
No, it is about just that. It is actually just about that. But the fact is there are about a dozen heads of states and leaders from the world who've been invited to be part of that Victory Day celebration, which is why, to get the global optics right, the ceasefire makes sense. That's what I'm asking.
Well, again, as cynical as we can get, I believe that the ceasefire still, first and foremost, makes sense as chance for Ukrainians to also celebrate this day of great sacrifice. Ukraine, as suffered a lot during the Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union. And again, however you might want to spin it, first and foremost, it is about people being able to honor
Absolutely.
the sacrifice of their ancestors.
Yes, that's correct. Let me now quickly get in a voice from Kiev as well. In fact, Mr. Kabir joins me to talk more on this. Mr. Kabir, this comes at a time when there have been several calls in the past about a ceasefire that was on the table, but the talks didn't proceed further. Do you think this offers that window for a larger conversation around peace talks, or do you think it's just because of, as I said, getting the right optics? Mr. Kabir.
It's purely for optics. I mean, let's be honest. Tatiana can act as if she doesn't want to be cynical, but her nation is engaged in a fascist genocidal war against mine. There is nothing but optics to gain for Vladimir Putin, who is a murderous dictator, as Tatiana well knows. She is under no illusions, as much as she might like to deny it, about the reality of the situation that she lives in and the reality of the war that her government is waging against mine. There was never going to be any shot of peace as long as Vladimir Putin keeps on his murderous rampage throughout Ukraine. He has, as he has had from day one, from 2014, the immense power to end all conflict and fighting in Ukraine by the simple measure of removing all Russian uniformed soldiers from Ukrainian territory. That's it. That's all he has to do. And he has been able to do that since the first day. Tatiana knows that, you know that, I know that, the world knows that.
Right.
So there's no reason to pretend that all of this pablum and nonsense about some kind of sacrifice, shared sacrifice of brotherhood, means anything, when the Russians have openly and repeatedly called the extermination of Ukrainian identity.
Okay. Tatiana, I give you a chance to respond to that.
Gaurie, I would like to actually respond to any questions that you might have.
Okay,
Because
fair enough. Then let me ask you.
ridiculousness-
Okay, that's a very matured way of handling it, and I commend you for that.
Okay.
Let me then ask you another question, which is that this comes just a few days after President Trump had in fact said on social media, and he had called out saying, Vladimir, stop. That's what the message was, and also comes just days after President Putin met President Zelensky as well, on the whole possibility of the peace talks being on and off the table. Do you think that window of opportunity comes in now after this?
Gaurie, I think that right now, right this moment, we are not at a point where Ukraine is ready to negotiate. Unfortunately, Vladimir Putin has said multiple times that Moscow is ready to talk. Moscow is ready to negotiate, and but only in a situation when we're actually talking about something. Again, something adequate, because Ukraine keeps insisting, for instance, that we need to, that Russia will have to actually give back Crimea and things like that. That will never actually happen. And Vladimir Zelensky has just reiterated that he does not want to, under any circumstances, recognize Crimea as Russian territory. So unless this changes, I don't believe personally, again,
So
not even as a journalist, as a person, that we're at a point where any talks can result in anything.
Because
Yeah,
there are
it can
just
happen, it's
there
just
are
not
too many.
gonna-
Okay, there are too many deal breakers that are there. Okay, very quickly, Mr. Kabir, I'm running out of time. Which is that, how do you see this after the 3-day window is over? Do you think it's going to be back to fighting, or any possibility of this leading to some peace talks?
There's not even going to be a 3-day window. Russia will continue its attacks even during their declared truces and ceasefires, just like they have every other time they have declared any truce or ceasefire. Hell, they've declared humanitarian corridors where they then bombed fleeing evacuees. So, no, the Russians are not going to stop. Vladimir Putin has no intention of stopping.
All right, I'm going to leave it there, Ms. Tatiana and Mr. Kabir. Thank you so much for joining me, essentially representing the two sides of this debate, which are unlikely to come together on any single issue right now. All right, shifting focus now to the other big story that we're tracking on India Global. India is raising red flags over a troubling shift that's taking place in Bangladesh. Growing signs of Islamic extremism, visible ties with Pakistan, and even ISIS flags that have been spotted at protest rallies. Developments that are sparking concerns amongst Indian authorities. Leaders of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's Awami League. Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma has confirmed that security agencies have been put on high alert. He expressed alarm over what he called Bangladesh's recent hobnobbing with Pakistan, adding fuel to fire. Pakistan's Foreign Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, in fact, continues to justify terror against India, even describing the militants behind Tuesday's deadly Pahalgam attack as anything but terrorists. These are very serious remarks because they also indicate such a huge departure that has taken place as far as Bangladesh is concerned. They come after a planned visit to Dhaka by the foreign minister that was pushed ahead in the wake of the recent developments in the region. But let me first get in a view from my colleague Saurabh Gupta, who's been tracking these details and these developments very closely, and then we come back and ask, as always, the big questions on the story. But first up, Saurabh.
Well, all these concerns about Bangladesh stem from the fact that Bangladesh is now advocating for stronger ties with Pakistan, and this has come from the chief advisor of the interim government of Bangladesh, Mohammad Yunus, who said that they want stronger ties with Pakistan. Now, what does this mean for India security-wise? Over the last few months, India has been worried. And why have they been worried? Well, a lot of anti-India voices have been openly speaking out. Also, what we've seen is terror accused and people with known terror links have been released from prison. They continue to make anti-India statements on Bangladeshi soil. And the other thing is that leaders in the northeast and states that are bordering Bangladesh, including Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma or the BJP ally Tipramotha Chief Pradyot Manikya Tip Burman, all of them are worried and they are saying that there needs to be strong action against Bangladesh. Along with that, Nishikant Dubey, BJP MP, has also called for action against Bangladesh, saying Lashkar-e-Taiba people are openly roaming around there. Now, what are we talking about? Now, in the last few days, there have been images that have been shared on social media, including by Sajid Pazed, who is former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's son. Sheikh Hasina was Prime Minister till her party, Awami League, was ousted by from power last year. And in these photos, there is a terror accused who is seen meeting the law advisor of the interim government of Bangladesh. And this terror accused is someone who was apprehended earlier. He is known for his Lashkar-e-Taiba links. He's traveled to Pakistan. He was apprehended after an operation at his hideout in a madrasa he was running illegally, where, you know, there were arms and ammunition recovered. So all of these developments, the presence of anti-India voices, the people with terror links openly meeting government officials, and, you know, the developments in the northeast with Bangladesh calling, the developments in Bangladesh with Bangladesh calling for stronger ties with Pakistan has left chief ministers of northeastern states worried over the developments, and that's why they're calling for stronger action against Bangladesh.
Indeed, and which is why the big questions that we're posing right now on India Global. First up, has Bangladesh now become the eastern flank of what many would call a jihadist axis? That's question number one. Second, can Bangladesh still morally claim legitimacy while flying ISIS flags? Third, is Dhaka's dangerous flirtation with Islamabad now a complete betrayal of 1971? And lastly, with children are with ISIS flags, is Bangladesh now nurturing or is it indoctrinating its next generation? I want to quickly now get it Brahma Chilani, strategic affairs expert, to talk more on this. Mr. Chilani, you heard our report, you heard some of the big questions that we are posing. What's your first thought on this greater linkage that has come in between Pakistan and Bangladesh and the complete ideological clarity with which both are aligned?
We shouldn't be surprised by the growing linkage between Pakistan and Bangladesh. The regimes both in Islamabad and Dhaka are military-backed regimes. They are Islamist leaning regimes. They have cozy alliance with Islamists. In fact, in Bangladesh, Yunus has set in motion the radicalization of Bangladeshi society. He has released violent Islamists and terrorists from jail. In a way, his regime has been tolerating terrorism and extremism by releasing convicted and under trial Islamist militants and violent extremists, including 174 prisoners have been released. These prisoners were linked to outlawed militant outfits like the ISIS-linked JMB. In addition, hundreds of death row convicts and militants remain at large after escaping from prison. The harsh reality is this about Bangladesh. The Islamists there are working to remake Bangladeshi society, including overturning the secularism that has largely defined Bangladesh since its independence from Pakistan. The Yunus regime, in fact, officially is proposing the elimination of the term secularism from the constitution. Today, those who sponsored and supported the 1971 Bangladesh genocide are calling the shots in Bangladesh. This is the tragedy of Bangladesh.
What do you think New Delhi's next steps should be, given the fact that these ISIS flags, the complete red flags that are being raised by the Northeastern chief ministers, including Himanta Biswa Sarma? What do you think New Delhi should be now focused on prioritizing?
We need a consistent Bangladesh policy. The human rights situation in Bangladesh remains grim. The Indian External Affairs Ministry earlier this month referred to, quote unquote, the ongoing persecution of minorities in Bangladesh, where the criminal perpetrators of such acts continue to roam free. Yet we are not exerting pressure on Bangladesh, despite the fact that Bangladesh depends on India for its daily essentials. In fact, when Prime Minister Modi met with Yunus on the sidelines of a multilateral summit in Bangkok, there was elation in Bangladesh among the Yunus regime circles because in a way, India was also conferring legitimacy on the Yunus regime. This is a regime that is unelected, undemocratic, unconstitutional. It has no mandate to be in office. It's been postponing elections. Yunus refuses to give even a specific month in which he will hold the election. Sometimes he says end of the year, of this year, then he says by June next year. And I think it's time for India to start exerting its leverage against this unconstitutional regime in Bangladesh, because this regime is directly responsible for the ongoing persecution of the Hindu minority. And in fact, the chickens have come home to roost for this regime, with Islamist and terrorist groups today seeking to dictate terms to the interim regime.
Yes, all right. Very quickly, Mr. Chilani, given the terrorist attack that took place last week, Pahalgam, given the tension since then, how do you see that coming in with the closeness of Bangladesh and Pakistan? Very quickly, sir.
The fact is that the Bangladeshi ISI, which sent a team to Dhaka on a secret mission, the team was hosted by the Yunus regime, is seeking to open bases in Bangladesh to destabilize India's northeast and West Bengal. So it's very clear that what Pakistan is doing on the western front, it's also seeking to do on the eastern front by using Bangladesh as a proxy. And India should make it very clear to Bangladesh that if there's any indication of such activity, that India will take whatever actions necessary to protect its security.
All right, sir, we leave it there. Thanks much for speaking to me on India Global. And on that note, we're slipping into a break, viewers. On the other side, India and France ink 63,000 crore rupee Rafale marine deal. We get you all the details on the other side. Stay with us.
At Direct Line, we know that for multi-property landlords, sometimes the tiniest of things can turn into way bigger problems. From niggly contract issues to keeping up with ever-changing legislation, That's why Direct Line's Landlord Insurance offers a 24/7 legal helpline as standard, because a call with someone could help to make the hairiest of problems feel that little bit smoother. Search Direct Line Landlord Insurance. We're on it.
It feels good knowing that your future's in hand. Evlo can offer you a loan from £1,000 to £15,000. Get your conditional decision in minutes.
Panda Bingo is the home of brilliant bingo rooms, great games, and out-of-this-world offers. It's absolute pandemonium at pandabingo.com/bingo.
Protect what matters to you with Simply Safe Home Security. Get our Which Best Buy rated starter pack from under £200. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Nothing beats a celebration. And at Tesco Mobile, we're ringing in 30 years of Club Card with deals like the Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus, with 25 gigs of data for just £43.99 a month with Club Card prices, saving you £270. Better yet, that price is frozen for the duration of your contract. And you can even bag a £30 Tesco gift card too. It pays to be connected. Search Tesco Mobile.
Your brain really matters.
In a major boost to India's naval firepower, India has sealed a mega deal worth 63,000 crore rupees to acquire 26 Rafale fighter jets from France. These state-of-the-art jets are set to rule the Indian skies soon. What will be the impact on India's maritime muscle and capability? Let's get in Vishnu Som, my colleague, to decode the larger perspective here from India's defense capabilities point of view.
Well, this is one of the most significant defense deals that India has ever signed at 63,000 crores. It is also one of the biggest deals in rupee terms, 26 fighters, 22 of which are going to be single-seater, 4 trainers. They'll be operating on our aircraft carrier, the Vikram Aditya, also the INS Vikrant, which is the new aircraft carrier that's in service. This is going to sustain Indian air power over the Arabian Sea, over the Bay of Bengal, and into the Asia-Pacific region for several decades to come. An important aspect of this deal, which I've come across, is that it specifies that as part of Atmanirbharta or Make in India, the fuselage of Rafale fighters will be built in India. Now that augurs well for the Indian armed forces, because there's a sense that more orders may be on its way. So if Dassault, the manufacturer of the Rafale, gets into an arrangement with an Indian company and starts manufacturing components, including the fuselage of the Rafale, we might get into a situation where there are more orders, primarily for the Indian Air Force.
All right, Vishnu, we leave it there. Thanks much for decoding that for us, the big deal that has been signed by India to acquire more Rafale jets. Shifting focus now, the suspect in a Canadian car ramming attack that left 11 dead at a Filipino street party was charged with murder. The suspect, identified as Kaiji Adam, is 30 years of age, from Vancouver, and was charged with 8 counts of second-degree murder. According to the Vancouver Police Department, who appeared in court before returning to police custody, was alleged to have acted deliberately and had a history of mental health problems. No motive has been confirmed for the Saturday evening attack, though terrorism was ruled out by the police. Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un of North Korea have confirmed for the first time that North Korea has sent troops to fight for Russia in the war with Ukraine. Both leaders are describing the soldiers as heroes. The acknowledgement comes amidst claims by Kremlin, contested by Ukraine, that North Korean forces helped recapture Russia's Kursk region. It also follows months of silence over the deployment, which has been widely reported across media. The Kremlin also said Russia was ready to provide assistance to North Korea, similar to the support offered to its soldiers in the Kursk region. The UN and Palestinian representatives at the International Court of Justice accused Israel of breaking international law by refusing to let aid into Gaza on the first day of hearings about Israel's obligations to facilitate aid deliveries. Since the 2nd of March, Israel has completely cut off all supplies to the 2.3 million residents of the Gaza Strip, and food stockpile during a ceasefire at the start of the year has pretty much run out. At the opening of the hearings at the UN's top court, the United Nations Legal Council said Israel had a clear obligation as an occupying force to allow and facilitate humanitarian aid for the people of Gaza. At the opening of the hearings at the UN's top court, the UN's Legal Council said that this needs to be acted upon. Turning focus to Paris, where a group of aging thieves, dubbed the Grandpa Robbers, believe it or not, are set to go on trial nearly a decade after they allegedly held reality TV star Kim Kardashian at gunpoint, stole millions of euros worth of jewelry during the Paris Fashion Week. At the time of the 2016 robbery, several suspects were nearing retirement age, making the case one of the most audacious, high-profile robberies involving an individual in France in over 20 years. Investigators say the men, disguised in police markings and ski masks, tied Kardashian up with zip ties and duct tape before fleeing with a $4 million engagement ring from her then-husband, Kanye West, now known as Ye, along with other luxury jewels. Kardashian is expected to return to Paris in May to testify, with the trial expected to last nearly a month. All right, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Global. Thanks so much for watching.
It's pandemonium, it's pandalicious, it's pantastic. It's the world of Panda Bingo.
I like to make a cup of tea, get settled on the sofa and play Panda Bingo. It's like a little bit of me time. Well, me and the pandas.
Whether I'm out and about on my mobile or just at home on the laptop, I can play my favourite Panda Bingo games anytime, anywhere. I just love it.
Brilliant bingo rooms, great games, out of this world offers. Join today at pandabingo.com/bingo.
With BetterHelp, when clients are making progress, you can really notice from the very start of the session, they're coming with a little bit more of a lift in their face, a little bit more light in their eyes. As a counsellor on BetterHelp, what I want to help my clients do is to accept themselves so that they can become who they're supposed to be. BetterHelp makes it so easy to make the first step in therapy.
I'll fix him, love. Poor pet. Just shows you never know what's going to happen. Which reminds me, I need to protect the life we've built. That's why I'm looking into Smart Family Life Insurance. Hi, I'd like a quick quote, please.
OK, you can choose a benefit amount up to £750,000, depending on your age. If you're a UK resident aged 18 to 64, you can apply with just a few health and lifestyle questions. For £250,000 of cover, the price starts at just £14.77 a month.
That's less than I thought. And it could help my husband with the mortgage.
Just like families, not all life insurance is the same. That's why we offer the Smart Family Guarantee.
That's good to know.
You'll also receive a 100% advance in the event of terminal illness and 10% cash back on your first year's premiums. That's the Smart Cashback. Plus, you'll also get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Protect the life you've built the smart way. To get a free quote today, call our specialist UK team on 0800 977 5753 or visit smartinsurance.co.uk.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks